Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hunting Illinois podcast. I'm Jason, and with us today is the whole team. So we got Lauren, Curtis, and Dan. Today, we are going to be talking about some out of state opportunities. So, we all come from various places across the country. I feel like these are all going to be states and stuff that we've either lived in or have gone to and experienced ourselves. So, we have some of our own experiences talking about some pretty affordable opportunities within the Midwest and the East Coast where we all have hailed from. But before we get into all these different opportunities, we'll go over some updates. So, Dan, what kind of updates we got today?
Yeah, so obviously, we're in the mix of summer now, so there's not a ton of updates out there, but it is time to begin thinking about your fall hunting, plans. And so that's kind of why we wanted to bring this episode to you, is not only to highlight some of these, more affordable out of state trips, but really a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about you can't really do in Illinois, right? And so these are going to be some unique opportunities that maybe you just don't have the opportunity. You can't use the equipment you want to use. So that's kind of why we're bringing it to you. But while we talk about that, I want to first start off with some news. So we have the Illinois waterfowl blind drawings. That schedule was just released. So these are going to be the in-person blind drawings. I'm not going to sit here and go through every site in the date, but we will have a link in the description and show notes below that'll take you to that press release that shows you exactly what date these waterfowl blind drawings are held, but they start July 20th and run through about August 2nd. So there's 4 different dates there. So definitely check those out if you're interested in obtaining one of these spots where you get to build a blind. And some of these you get the spot for 2 years. So definitely worth looking into. But again, links down below. The dove lottery is currently still open. So if you're interested in hunting doves, September 1st through the September 5th on some public land, get that lottery application in. You have the entirety of the month of June, so you've still got quite a bit of time. And Jason actually just did a really robust video kind of going through the entire application process, talked about some of his favorite essentially data resources that you can use to kind of guide your application process a little bit. So we'll have a link down to that below, but definitely check that out. That might give you a little bit of insight to increase your odds for that lottery. One other news item I want to quickly touch on. It's not necessarily hunting related, but I think all of us here are pretty good anglers. We like to get out and fish quite a bit. So there actually is a free fishing days coming up for Illinois. So June 13th through the 16th, Illinois DNR has officially declared these as the Illinois free fishing days for 2025. So during these essentially 4 days, anglers can fish without purchasing a fishing license, a salmon stamp, or even an inland trout stamp in Illinois. So if you're interested in fishing, but maybe you haven't bought your fishing license yet, hey, here's a couple days where you can get out there, get the line wet, have a little bit of fun for free. So definitely
Or
check those out.
really, it's a perfect time to take somebody new. If you've got
Absolutely.
neighbors that have been eyeing your fishing poles, asking questions, this is the weekend to ask them because they don't need a license. All they got to do is come along and have fun. And, if you do that next year, they'll probably have a license. So that's kind of, in my mind, that's the biggest value out of these things. Take somebody new, use it for that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's about all the news and updates I got. We have one big news update I'm going to turn it over to Curtis for. Tell us a little bit about Illinois Hunt Camp.
Yeah, so anybody that's been listening to us or watching us for a while has heard about Illinois Hunt Camp. It's our biggest event of the year. It's a 1 day, basically social networking event built for new hunters. So if you're a newer hunter or even a brand new hunter that's never hunted before in their life, Hunt Camp is for you. It basically, we get everybody together. We have a bunch of education stations where you can walk around and learn about some real life skills like duck ID, like reading maps, like trapping mammals and dog training, all this kind of stuff. We've got games, we've got prizes. One of the big draws is this is how we allocate all of our mentored hunting opportunities. So all of you out there that are wanting to get into hunting and you're looking for mentored opportunities for adults, they can be super hard to find. Illinois Hunt Camp is the place for adults to find mentored hunting opportunities. So if you are interested in that sort of thing, come on out. When you come, you'll get a whole packet with prize tickets in it. And we have all of our hunts spread out on the table. You can read about them. You can read about where they are in the state, when they're going to occur, kind of what to expect, what you might need, and whatever hunts you're interested in, you just put your little ticket in that bucket. So you decide what you want to win. Maybe mentored hunts aren't your thing because you're not to that point yet, or maybe you're past that point. We've got a whole outdoor gear table with a bunch of useful outdoor gear. So there really is something for everybody. Also, one of the big things we added last year was trying wild game. So obviously, this is one of the big reasons why a lot of us hunt is because we appreciate the food, everything that goes into it. And so Hunt Camp gives us an opportunity to share a little bit of that with all of the Hunt Camp participants. So once again, we'll be doing wild game sampling at Hunt Camp. So you never know what you'll get to try, show up, and sure to be some good dishes and get to vote for your favorites. And we'll have a whole little Iron Chef wild game competition going on. Sure to be a blast. But September 27th, 12 to 5, that's a Saturday. So it is a ways in the future, but get your tickets now because the ticket link just went live. And this year we're doing a huge early bird prize giveaway that we're going to draw these out early in the day. Actually, at 2 p.m., we're going to draw out 5 winners out of the earliest people to buy tickets. So one of these winners is going to come from ticket buyer 1 through 25, one from 1 through 50, one from 1 through 100, one from 1 through 200, and one from 1 through 300. So those 5 winners are going to be called up at 2, and then they're going to have some fun little games to play to decide who gets to pick their prize first. And we're talking about some pretty awesome prizes on this early bird giveaway, including a choice of any hunt on the hunt table. So whoever wins can walk through the hunt table and pick any hunt they want, and that's their mentored hunt. Another winner is going to win choice of anything on the outdoor gear prize table. So those are 2 pretty awesome prizes. We'll also pick out 3 other gear prizes to put on there. So all 5 will be pretty sweet prizes, and hopefully the games will be fun and entertaining for all as well. But get your Hunt Camp tickets today. They're only $10 right now, the early bird price. They will go up after the Illinois State Fair. So $10 right now, and that includes the food, the games, the prizes, basically everything. Parking is free. It's at Deacon's Restaurant and Golf Farm in Wakanda, Illinois, which they're actually a restaurant and a bar as well. So alcoholic drinks aren't included in Hunt Camp, but you're welcome to go to the bar and purchase those if you desire. They've also got desserts and other drinks and other food if you want to supplement, but we'll have barbecue food and then, of course, all the wild game and some stuff to snack on over there and a bunch of outdoor themed things for you to learn about. And then also all the active outdoor groups of Illinois are there to kind of tell you about what they do and what they can offer you. And we've got some incentives for you all to join them because we think that's a big part of getting plugged into the social pipeline. You join a group like Pheasants Forever, Fur Takers of America, National Wild Turkey Federation. You join any of these groups, you're going to a lot of times get a magazine. You're going to get invites to meetings with like-minded people. And this is great because you're going to make friends. Sometimes you're going to make friends that have private land to hunt, right? Sometimes you're going to make friends that have a boat. Sometimes you're going to make friends that have a bunch of decoys, whatever. With you and your power of your friends combined, you make a powerful hunting party, right? That's how we did it back in college, like Captain Planet, right?
Oh yeah,
Everybody
oh
comes
yeah.
together with the small amount of gear they have, and all together you can make it work. But and that's the whole nature of Hunt Camp. We're trying to get everybody together, get everybody social, and hopefully welcome a bunch of new people into the outdoors and into hunting, which we feel like can enrich everyone's lives. So come on out. We'll post the ticket link along with this episode. Get your ticket now because the earlier you get a ticket, the more likely you are to win something awesome.
Excellent. And also
Well,
just a huge shout out. We don't have time to sit here and go through all of our partners. We'll do a full Hunt Camp episode where we kind of dive deep into it. But I just want to give a huge thank you to all the partners and organizations that allow Hunt Camp to happen. Right. And so there's a lot of work that goes into it. So again, excuse me, we'll definitely call out all those groups and individuals in a later episode. But again, thanks to all the partners and the ambassadors and volunteers that we have come out for this. It certainly makes it possible.
Yeah, check out our website. It's easy to find. It's illinoishuntcamp.com. It's got all the information about Hunt Camp as well as a running schedule, all the partners and sponsors, which we're adding to that all the time. We're currently working to make Hunt Camp as big as it can be right now. So we're hoping to add some new partners and sponsors to that list here as we go. But we've got them all there. We've got pictures from past events. You can get a feel for kind of what it looks like and what it feels like, and it's a lot of fun. I haven't heard too many bad complaints, and everybody that's come seem to come every year. So, yeah, give it a chance. Come on out. It's only $10. What else can you do for in a day in the Chicago area for $10?
We should mention, these ticket funds, we're not trying to raise money. These funds are directly basically given back to you. And so what we do with all the ticket monies is we've partnered with Pheasants Forever, and they will go and use all those funds to purchase some of the outdoor gear that's then immediately given away at hunt camp. So we appreciate the support. And again, we look forward to seeing y'all out there. It'll be a fun day. Fun day.
And your kid gets in free with your ticket purchase. They can't win anything, but it is kid friendly, like they can come with you. So you don't have to find a babysitter or anything. They're out, they can come along. There'll be some stuff to help entertain them as well. So
Hmm. Sounds good to me.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. So now we're going to get into some affordable out of state hunting opportunities. Who would like to go first? Talking about an opportunity that they know about.
I could jump in. One thing that, in the way this kind of episode came together is we were honestly just chatting one day and we're like, hey, there's only so much you can do in Illinois, right? There's a lot of other game species that exist across this country that you just don't have the opportunity to hunt here. Or maybe it's using equipment that you can't use here. And so, we're not trying to push people out of hunting Illinois, but we want to give some other opportunities that maybe you didn't draw a permit this year. Maybe you want to try something different. Maybe you're an adventurous person. So we're just going to really cover some really affordable and easy to access opportunities that we have personally done. We could sit here and just Google and rattle off, oh yeah, let's go hunt west, and go after the elk in Colorado in a trophy zone. We don't want to talk about that. What we really want to talk about is stuff that you can just do yourself. And so we'll first start off with a little bit of Kentucky. So I went to school in Kentucky, hunted Kentucky for a long time. Have a great appreciation of Kentucky. It's not all that different than Southern Illinois. They are quite similar habitats in some extents. And in the western portion of Kentucky, it's pretty similar to Illinois. It's very ag dominant and it's fairly flat. But the first thing I want to talk about is deer archery. And you may go, well, Illinois is a deer archery state, so why would I go to Kentucky? Well, a few options. The biggest, I think, draw of the Kentucky archery season is how early it begins. So in Illinois, we're talking archery season October 1st. In reality, by the time October 1st rolls around in Illinois, the vast majority of bucks have shed off their velvet antlers. And there's a lot of people who want that opportunity to harvest a buck in full velvet still. You have that opportunity in Kentucky. Their season typically starts around September 6th. Definitely check these dates and all this stuff. But September 6th, so you have an opportunity to get that early season buck that's still in full velvet. And that can be a draw for a lot of people. And the cool thing is there's ample public land. These permits are available over the counter, so you don't have to go through a lottery system. So again, if you're looking at an affordable out-of-state archery deer tag and you want to try to obtain that buck that's still in full velvet, Kentucky's a pretty good state to look at. Affordable permits, good public land, all that kind of stuff. Another opportunity I want to talk about in Kentucky is it's fairly new. It's their elk season. And so their current estimate about their elk herd is roughly around 10,000 elk. And so they're really building this herd quite rapidly. And so typically they allocate about 500 permits annually. But now what I really like about this opportunity, if you look at all the Western hunting, the elk model, a lot of times it operates on this preference point system, which again has its pros and cons. It has its pros that if you put in year after year after year, eventually you're going to build up enough preference points that hopefully you can obtain a permit. In Kentucky, it's completely opposite. There are no preference points. It's a brand new lottery every year. Now, if you do draw an elk tag, you cannot draw one again for several years. They do kind of have that footnote in there. But again, everybody's got the exact same chance when you apply year after year. There's no preference point system. So again, their herd is estimated about 10,000 elk. They allocate about 500 permits annually, and about 10% of those permits are awarded to non-residents. Now, they do publish their lottery odds, which makes this process a lot easier. So I'll quickly go through just the most recent lottery odds. You can look back and go pretty much all the way back to when they first introduced their elk season. But for firearm bull, as a non-resident, you're looking at about a 1 out of 1,500 chance. For a firearm cow, you're about 1,700 odds. And for either sex archery, you're at about 1 out of 950 odds. So your best odds right off the bat, if you're just interested in trying to obtain a permit, Firearm Cow has the best permit odds. These applications open August 1st, links down below. So you've still got some time, but definitely wanted to chat about that because it's a unique opportunity. Getting to hunt elk in Eastern Kentucky has to be pretty cool. And again, it's one of those things you can put in for and you have the exact same chance as everybody else who puts in for it. You don't have to worry about doing it year after year and building up this preference point system. So definitely wanted to mention that. Another really interesting hunting opportunity that we do have some quail, some northern bobwhite quail in Illinois. But one of my first jobs out of college was actually as a quail technician. And so we basically went out and captured quail, radio collared them, did some banding work, things like that. But they have put a lot of emphasis on reclaiming a lot of their strip coal mines into basically better prairie habitat. And so there's a WMA that I particularly worked on called Peabody Wildlife Management Area. It's in central Kentucky, but it's got ample northern bobwhite populations. You can walk around and you're flushing several coveys up in a day. The coveys are pretty good size, anywhere from 10 to 20. And so it's a great opportunity, again, to maybe you go out for an early season deer hunt and you want to stick around, or maybe an elk hunt, and maybe you want to throw in a quail hunt. The cool thing about the quail hunting, and you'll see this across the board, and you'll hear a similar kind of talking point as we move through and everybody kind of talks about their individual hunts that we're talking about today. For a lot of small game, you don't have to buy the full non-resident hunting license in many states. And Kentucky's one of those. They have a 1-day or a 7-day non-resident that you can use for small game, upland, waterfowl. And so in reality, you can put together a quail hunt in Kentucky as a non-resident for relatively affordable, under $100 just in your permit and credentials. So definitely check that out. And I do want to just mention a few kind of cool destinations in Kentucky that I've hunted and that are really productive. The biggest is going to be Land Between the Lakes. And so this is a piece of federal land. I think it's classified as a federal recreation area, but it's about 180,000 acres. And what's really cool is it's basically a giant peninsula between two lakes. That's how it gets its name, Land Between the Lakes. And so you have Kentucky Lake on one side, Lake Barkley on the other, and you just have this contiguous 180,000 chunks of public land at your disposal. And the cool thing is, part of it actually is in Tennessee. So if you want to try even something different, you could also buy a Tennessee hunting license while you're down there, hunt Land Between the Lakes on the Kentucky side and on the Tennessee side. So just a really cool area. And then obviously on the eastern side of Kentucky, you have the Daniel Boone National Forest, which is just world renowned for its beauty. It's big, open forest, gorgeous country. And then last thing I want to chat about a little bit is Reelfoot Lake. So Reelfoot Lake is one of these areas that's kind of a premier waterfowl spot across the country. People travel all across the country to hunt Reelfoot Lake. This is a lake that is in part Kentucky and part Tennessee. The vast majority of the hunting is done on the Tennessee side. But again, they do have the 1, 3, or 7-day non-resident hunting license that you can use for waterfowl on Reelfoot Lake. Now, Reelfoot Lake, I won't lie, it is a challenge to hunt, especially as a new hunter. You're going to have a boat. You're going to be dealing with a lot of public pressure, a lot of other hunters, and you will basically have boats spaced out. There's a legal distance that they have to be from each other, and they will be out there with rangefinders, and they will be exactly the distance they have to be from each other. So it is packed in there, but worth looking into if you're trying to look for something that's a little fun, has a lot of historic culture behind it. The type of hunting at Reelfoot Lake is a different type of duck hunting than I've seen really anywhere else, and it's something that the Reelfoot Lake hunters have really just developed themselves. But a lot of them don't even use duck calls. You'll just go out there and you'll just hear people just yelling, "Hey, hey, 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 hey," in that right duck cadence at every duck that flies by. It's definitely a unique experience. You'll see some different ducks than you may get to see in Illinois. We saw a lot of ruddy ducks when we were down there that I don't really see in Kentucky too much, or in Illinois too much. So you do get to see a little different species down there, but definitely cool.
With that many boats in the water, is it mainly like passing over like flocks that everybody's just taking shots at, or are you actually calling them into a spread?
It depends. A lot of times, if you're in a cove, you're probably trying to work them. If you get stuck out on kind of the main lake and the main channel, a lot of times you're just shooting passing by. And again, when waterfowl hunting gets that dense and there's that many hunters, a lot of times people are what we call sky busting. Sky blasting, you'll see that a lot out there where there's ducks. They're not even close to being in range, but people are just lobbing shots at them. And so a lot of times that just keeps them from wanting to land naturally. So a lot of it is just kind of passing shots. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
and
great
since it's
crappie
so
lake too.
competitive, like a lot of the hunters at Reelfoot get creative. So one of the ways to outcompete your neighbor, at least people think, is to maybe have a bigger decoy spread. But decoys are expensive. Well, one thing they started doing at Reelfoot is just throwing out chunks of PVC pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Or old 2 liter bottles. Anything that is roughly the shape of a duck, that can be a decoy at Reelfoot Lake. But just because of the competitive nature of it, I would almost really highly urge people to just go with a guide. There are a bunch of
Absolutely.
guides on
Yeah.
Reelfoot. They have reasonable rates, and you may not have the greatest hunt, but at least you've got somebody local there who can navigate all the competition and knowing how far away to stay from people and all that kind of stuff. Because it occasionally bad stuff can happen there because of competition, and nobody wants to see that. So I guess one thing, this is a great tie-in to waterfowl hunting in Missouri, which is of course one of my favorites. And I love how Missouri has got almost, I don't want to say 100% got rid of the competition issue, but once you're hunting, there's very little competition on the Missouri managed waterfowl spots because they manage it in such a way where I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it's about 40 acres of habitat per hunting party is what they want to see. So the different areas might hunt a little different. Some of them have a stake that you have to go and stand nearby. Some of them have an actual blind. Some of them it's just a big open pool and you go everywhere, but they'll only put the number of parties in there so that every single hunting party should have 40 acres to themselves, which is a good amount of space. And it's basically enough space that the this competition that you see at Reelfoot Lake, it doesn't exist. Now, where does the competition occur? Well, it occurs at the draw before the hunt even starts. And this is the negative part about hunting waterfowl in Missouri. So it can be absolutely world class and it's affordable. I looked up all the non-resident fees, and if you are hunting waterfowl in Missouri, all you need is you need your federal duck stamp, which you probably already have anyway if you've hunted anywhere else. The same federal duck stamp is good anywhere. Missouri does have their own state migratory bird stamp at 750, whether you're a resident or non-resident. Missouri, their annual non-resident hunting license is $102, so that's pretty standard across the board, right around $100. They also do have a daily for 15. So if you're keeping track, if you've already got your duck stamp and all you have to do is buy the state stamp and a daily stamp, you're talking 15 plus 750 per day is how much it tries or how much it costs to attempt to hunt in Missouri, which is incredibly affordable. If you want to go ahead and pay the full thing, then it's $109.50 for the yearly annual small game license and the state migratory stamp. And then you can hunt all year. MDC has a number like 16 of really intensively managed waterfowl areas. The nice thing is they have all the statistics online for you to see, and they actually update these. I think it's at least once a week, if not twice a week. It might be Tuesday and Thursday. But you can go through and look at not only each area and how many ducks they shot, how many hunters they shot, but you can actually look by blind and see, are there some blinds doing really good, some blinds doing really bad. You can also see the number of hunting parties that showed up and the number of hunting parties that got turned away. So you literally have every piece of information needed to, if you're a statistics, a numbers person, if you're somebody that likes that sort of thing, you've got all the data available to make really good decisions to try to carve out a 2 or 3 day period where you can go and try to hunt one of these areas and really get in on some world-class waterfowl hunting. And for me, I'm going to choose the middle of the week because you can go through and look at these stats right now and it's makes sense, but weekends are the hardest time to draw out. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the easiest time to draw out. And you can go look at these stats from last year, and there's a lot of these areas that were averaging 3.5 to 4 birds per hunter, which is, I mean, that's world class. Not there's no bones about it. That's world class anywhere you are. and basically during those days, they had probably about 75% of the hunting parties drawn out. So obviously, with those odds, if you go for a three-day trip, you're probably hunting 2 of those days, and it might be the two best waterfowl hunts your group's ever had. And on the day you don't draw out, well, maybe go fishing or go hunting something else or something, but consider it a victory. For me, this is one of the like best possibilities that's nearby to Illinois that anybody can do. And the way that the drawing system works, I mean, it is a bummer because you could get turned away and not get to hunt at all. But if you draw out, there's very little competition, and there's a very good chance that you're going to have a really great hunt in some of the best waterfowl habitat known to man. Waterfowl habitat that's so good that a lot of the other states are like, hey, let's make it illegal. But anyway, that's another story.
And just to expand on that a little bit too, it's that's such a perfect hunt for this topic because we're talking about, hey, you're a new hunter, you're looking at some non-resident opportunities. Well, boom, that's an area where you have the data at your fingertips that if you don't have to spend hours and hours on these forums and trying to reach out to people who may not be wanting to tell a lot of their secrets or their locations because then they're increasing competition for themselves. And so as a new hunter and a non-resident, you can really, like you said, get on a world-class hunt with just a cursory amount of research. And that I think is awesome. So
Yeah, the the data in my mind makes it even for everybody,
yeah, sure.
because it's when you don't have that, all of the hunting really favors the locals. It just favors the people that are doing it all the time, which, hey, maybe there's something to be said for that, but there's also something to be said for hunting is more than ever before, I think, an adventure thing. In our granddad's age, right, it was a local thing. Everybody got together most days, weekends, and just go for a quick hunt because they all knew all the farmers. All that stuff's changed. Nobody has this access where they're hunting every day like they used to, more than ever before. Hunting is an adventure thing. And I don't know about you all, but for me, one of the first people that got me thinking about that was actually Steven Ranella. When I first watched him before he started Meat Eater, he had a show called The Wild Within. And it was the first hunting show that ever showed just some random dude from the Midwest going on these adventures out west on his own. And sometimes he was successful, sometimes he wasn't, but he always had fun. And it got me thinking, like, well, dang, maybe I could do that same thing too. And I think the whole basically country started feeling that way. And then Steven Ranella kind of started a trend where you see a lot of hunting shows that are like that now, that are just these adventure hunters that are going out and they're not always successful. The hunting public is a good one. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they get a nice buck, sometimes it's a small buck. It's fairly real. But those things are showing people that they can do this kind of thing. And hunting doesn't have to be just that local go on the quick rabbit hunt with your buddies. Most people don't have access to that anyway. It can be more of this planning an adventure and going on a camping and hunting trip. And yeah, I think some of these are great examples of things that people can do from Illinois in just 2 or 3 days with a couple $100 and remember for their whole life. I mean, that has a lot of value for me.
Absolutely. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in this group who's been there where you get to a new spot, you draw a duck blind, and hey, maybe you're the first choice, and you walk up to that. This is a personal story for me. Walked up there, selected a blind. Everybody else in the room instantly busted out laughing because they knew I just picked literally the worst blind of the entire set. But since we didn't have that data, like you're saying Missouri does, it makes that process difficult. But again, as a new hunter, an opportunity like that, yeah, hard to pass that up.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
would
so
say
huge kudos. Sorry,
as
Jason.
an experienced, oh, you're good. As an experienced hunter trying new things out, it was really fun for me this past year. I've hunted around, I've hunted new areas before, even areas I've been hunting. The public land around here is so big that you can go hunt a new area every other day if you wanted to. I mean, go try another parking lot you haven't tried yet. But the experience of us going down south to Kincaid Lake to go turkey hunting this past year was fun because we took all the stuff that we all know about turkey hunting and turkey habitat and we put it together and to pick a spot, even just 3 hours away that you've never been to before. And it really goes to show that you do know what you're talking about. You do understand the ecology of the birds and that you can go and just throw a dart at a map and be like, all right, this is where we think they're going to be at, and then bump into them and have them be there is just such a fulfilling thing, and it's another layer on the satisfaction of hunting as well as being able to do that and feel the satisfaction of being right sometimes is cool. Even when we didn't harvest a bird, just getting close enough to where we saw some people saw some, other people may have heard some, and we were on them at least. So that type of stuff is just another level of skill and satisfaction that comes through planning a big trip like this, where you might get it right. But then other times, if you just went for, if you go to a pretty area of the country, you just get a good view. I mean, at that point,
Hmm.
you're just
Hmm.
happy to be there and try to be out somewhere, and it's just good to be outside.
I
But
mean, you might just be seeing new, little songbirds or, like,
yeah,
hey, we don't have that kind of, squirrel running around here, like, look at all the red squirrels. We don't see those really where I am, kind of thing.
hmm
And I think that really ties in. And I'm glad you brought that up, Jason. That this whole concept of kind of why we chose this podcast is, again, not saying, hey, go hunt the things you can do here every day of the week, but try something new. That was one thing when I first started getting, I was very much a deer hunter, right? I went and sat in the same tree every single day. And yeah, I had fun hunting. But when I started branching out, trying new things, trying new areas, I never saw myself as a quail hunter, a pheasant hunter, a duck hunter growing up. That was something that never even crossed my mind. I remember my hunter ed instructor way back when I was like 13 or so. He got up, do we have any waterfowl hunters in here? And he asked the question. He was a big waterfowl hunter. But in the back of my mind, I was like, who wants to hunt ducks? Like, no, no, not at all. And then I tried it. And so a lot of times it's just maybe even you don't go out to try to harvest an animal. You just want to try something new. It may give you a whole new appreciation for an entire different type of hunting that you never even thought about doing. And so I'm a big fan of ideas like this where you can try something that's affordable, easy to travel, relatively easy to obtain. You don't have to put in for a preference point for 30 years to obtain it. And you may fall in love with something. You may realize, oh my gosh, I really don't like deer hunting. I do like duck hunting. I do like, quail hunting. I do like raccoon hunting. There's all these different opportunities. So I'm glad you brought that up. This whole idea of adventure around hunting is so important these days.
hmm
Well, and unlike you guys, it is all still new for me because I'm much newer. So, and in general, I grew up with a private land deer hunter. So like to me, public land is new. Like just all of it is so new. So it's all still very exciting. So it's like I've already got that kind of momentum going. So I'm like, why not try something like a waterfowl hunt on the
Sure.
Chesapeake? Because I'm at that age right now where I swear it's like everybody I know is getting married during hunting season is what it feels like every freaking year. Um, for my poor husband, I swear it's during firearm deer, one of those 2 weekends every year. It seems like somebody's getting married and we have to travel. So if there's
Hmm.
a tip, I guess if you have to travel out of state for a wedding, see if there's anything interesting in that state that you can do for cheap that weekend. Just make it a little trip. You got to travel anyway. Why not?
Hmm.
That's a great point,
Um,
honestly. That's actually a really good point because I've done that a ton where you miss a firearm season because of that. You're
Yeah,
100%
my
right.
brother's getting married this coming year, and I'm like, well, if you schedule it for, in Pennsylvania, I'm like, let me know like when it's gonna be in enough time that I can actually like get something scheduled because
Yeah, be like, hey, can you get married on Sunday since I can't hunt that day
Yeah,
yeah,
anyway?
for real.
exactly. It's like, hey, like
They're
if you're gonna do this, yeah, I gotta
they're
come up
trying.
anyway. I gotta come up anyway. So, um, but so one of the things I was looking at and I've been talking about with my husband is wanting to do, so I haven't actually had a chance to do this yet because the part of Maryland I grew up in is not on the Eastern Shore. It's not on the bay. Um, but overall, Illinois has a lot of wildlife in common with what you find in Maryland overall. But one of the things that has a lot of exceptions are the sort of waterfowl you can find just because it is coastal. It's not, the middle of the country. So you can find things like sea ducks. You can find more of kind of the diving ducks. There's just a little bit more variety in what you can actually find. More black ducks. They actually have a black duck season. Um, because it is in the Atlantic flyway, not the Mississippi. So it's just a very different kind of habitat. It's a little bit less ag. It's just a very different experience. It's interesting. So to me, it's just a very different sort of experience with what I've seen so far with waterfowl hunting.
Hmm.
So it's something I kind of want to do. And of course, that's where the Chesapeake Bay Retriever comes from as well. The big, stronger version of the lab with that big, powerful chest to break the ice. Um, so it's one of the things my husband and I want to do. You can do stuff like hunt offshore in blinds that are kind of on like I think little like raised legs. You can hunt the sea ducks. I'm trying to think what else. We've got
Yeah, one of the
mock.
cooler things, like you said, is just the species. I had a buddy in college, and he was a really good friend of mine. I'm really disappointed in myself that I didn't take him up on the offer of going back. He was from Maryland, hunted waterfowl in the Chesapeake Bay all the time. And I never took him up on the offer because I'll be able to do that some point, later on down the road. And I just never got to do it. But the pictures he would send of some of these ducks, I mean, they are
Mhm.
just some of the prettiest, gorgeous specimens you've ever seen. And it's just so cool from, seeing where my first couple ducks I ever caught, wood duck, mallard, pintail, all gorgeous birds, but nothing like some of the sea ducks that he was routinely getting. So not only, trying something new, but trying an entirely different quarry species to go after. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very different. We think waterfowl ID, we get a lot of questions at being intimidating here. I'm like, I'm intimidated for East Coast for Maryland because like I said, that black duck season, you get two and you can only take them in that black duck and they look a lot like mallard hens. So it's like you got to make sure you're on your game. So it's pretty cool. And, they've got, like I said, those sea ducks that we just don't really get. And they've got interesting things. I mean, everywhere's got different regs. So, like, you can't hunt migratory birds, like you were saying, um, on Sundays. Like Pennsylvania, too, you can't hunt a lot of
Mhm.
stuff on Sundays as well.
Mhm.
And it's not that expensive. I mean, it's not as cheap as Missouri, unfortunately, but it is Maryland. So, you gotta do it. It's like Illinois in terms of cost. I don't know how many Illinois people are familiar with Maryland prices, but it's not cheap. Um, they also have their migratory bird stamp, and the hip is free, but it's you automatically get it with your bird stamp. It's not like a separate thing you have to like check off. That's 15. You've got your federal duck stamp, of course. That's 25 at the post office. And then this is another state where you can get a non-resident license. So the 3-day waterfowl and small game, so you can do waterfowl and small game in that time period, is 65. And if you do that license, you don't have to have the hunter's safety or hunter ed requirement, which is kind of weird to me, but that, the one for waterfowl, you don't have to know how to,
Hmm.
Sure.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's weird, but whatever. So for about
Every state's
105,
different. Yep.
That's
yeah,
weird.
yep. So, you know, but, for about, $105 plus, this is definitely one I personally would want to go towards for a guide or an outfitter because you're going to need a boat. You need a permit for an offshore blind. It's like, it's
And
complicated.
especially if you've never hunted big water.
Yes, yes, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
this is,
salt water. That could be, if
Right.
you have
Right.
freshwater equipment, you really don't want to throw it out on the salt water. I mean, need to wash it real good
Mhm.
afterwards because that'll really erode all of your stuff very quickly.
Quick. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
and I think the way they do their zones as well, there's like open water and sea. Like they've got the way it's just like I would rather have somebody who actually knows,
Hmm.
the
Sure.
intricacies with like how that all works and how does that work exactly with permits as well. You know what I mean? Like I would just rather that's one where I would be willing to pay for somebody else to figure that out
And
for me.
that's the nice thing about some of these small game opportunities out of state is if you book a deer hunt and you want a guided deer hunt or a guided big game hunt, I mean you're spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But a lot of times for hunts like this where you may be doing a waterfowl for a 1 day or 2 day, that may be $300-400 a day depending on the specific outfit, all that. But it's a lot more affordable. So if you're just looking again for an adventure, small game through an outfitter is yeah, it's pretty good,
Mhm.
especially
Yeah, and
waterfowl. Yeah.
if you're like me and you're gonna be crashing with family anyway, you already got to buy the plane tickets
There
for
you
like
go.
the
Yep.
wedding. And I will say too, Curtis and I were talking, Maryland is remarkably cheap for non-resident fur bearer as well. So if you're interested in trapping in Maryland for some reason, visiting family, it's like I think it was like $60. It was
Geese.
weirdly cheap. And then if you want the full non-resident license, that's about 160, which still really isn't that bad because I
Nope.
think you also get at least one deer with that as well. Maryland has black bear, so there's options. So it's not a bad little state.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, and so I think we've talked about a couple different ways to get out. So there's the Missouri model where it's you don't need a guide, but you're drawing. So you may hunt, you may not hunt, but if you get out, you're probably going to do good. A couple of these other places, you're going to do much better to get a guide, which is going to cost a little bit more money. But like Lauren said, if you're willing to save money by either camping or staying with relatives or friends, then it's probably a net even. Just go with the guide and figure it out, even if it's only on day 1 and 2. Maybe then you'll figure it out. So day 3 and 4, you don't need the guide. But now I want to mention a couple things that you don't need a guide, you don't need to draw, that you could just go do. And one of them that's just one state away from Illinois that I've done before, and I was actually shocked at how good it was the forest bird hunting in northern Wisconsin. So this will be the same in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan. If you get into what's called the North Woods ecotype, which in Wisconsin it starts right around mid-state and further north, but the crown jewel of northern Wisconsin is and this is a tough word to say, so stay with me, but the Chequamegon Nicolet National Forest. It is actually, and try not to pass out when I say this number, but it is 1.5 million acres of huntable public ground. It's not a typo. That's, yeah, 1.5 million acres to explore. And it's all prime habitat for ruffed grouse and woodcock, which are both huntable species that both have congruent seasons. So basically, the ruffed grouse season in Zone A, which is northern Wisconsin, starts in mid-September. The woodcock season generally starts the third week of September. So once you get to late September, early October, that's the prime time. It's basically, there's a ton of campgrounds up there and there's a lot of open camping too. So you can stay super cheap. 1.5 million acres to romp around on. And I went up there and hunted public land. And being from Missouri, I hunted upland birds quite a bit. And in general, I just figured if I was hunting upland birds, I was going to walk 12 to 16 miles. And if I got a shot, it was a good day, a lot of times. And I got up there and we started walking, and immediately, oh, there's a woodcock, there's a woodcock, there's a woodcock. And after walking for an hour over what must have only been, I don't even know, like 100 acres of habitat, we had like 9 to 12 woodcock that we jumped and shot at. We had 3 or 4 grouse, and it continued like that for the whole day. And like, I don't want to say it's going to be super fast action for everybody all day, every day, but we were just a bunch of people from southern Wisconsin, didn't know what we were doing. We had a couple dogs. We were with a couple people that were from up there, and we had awesome hunt over a couple days, just camping and hiking around. So this opportunity exists out there. As far as price, not bad at all. So Wisconsin, the non-resident hunting permit annual is $90, or they do have a 5-day option that's 60. So one of those two options. Woodcock, you do have to do the HIP registration because it is a migratory bird, but that's free. So really less than $100, you can go up there, and if you're willing to camp, you can have some awesome hunts. The one little caveat that I will throw in there to be just aware of is you are in both wolf and bear territory. So dogs that do stick close to you are best. Now, bird dogs are generally in pretty good shape. They have a low chance of getting attacked by wolves, but it does happen every year. So that is one little caveat I like to throw in there to be mindful of. But if your dog stays close, not much of an issue.
And ruffed grouse are by far some of the coolest game birds we have in this country. They are such cool birds. I would love to try something like that.
I mean, me
Hmm.
too.
Might have
Maybe
to
we
add
need to
that to
do like
my
a
list.
team building
Yeah.
hunt after hunt camp this year. Nice relaxation weekend.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, they're fun hunts for sure. And the grouse do run-ins. They're cyclic, so I don't know exactly where they are in the cycle. Need to contact Elena Ross. She's she might be the upland biologist now. She was the assistant biologist back when I was there, but she's always got her hand on the tabs of that. And so some years can be good, some years a little slow. But the woodcock being migratory, they're always coming through in good numbers. So any year you go up there, you can be sure you're probably going to get into some action as long as you're in that late September, early to October range, and the woodcock migration's going strong.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Awesome.
so after that, go a little bit further west. So we've stayed pretty close to Illinois, other than Maryland. That's over there in the east. But now to kick off to the west a little bit. In general, a lot of the hunting opportunities out west are a little bit more expensive. Plus, they're a little bit further away, and so you got to pay to get there. But one that I do want to bring up as a dual opportunity is Nebraska. And the reason I bring this up, one, is because my sister and brother-in-law live there, and so I've been there and hunted now, a couple times and had awesome hunts. But the one thing about Nebraska, it's really like the opposite of Illinois in terms of it's just got a ton of public land that's like upland habitat and it's all open hunting. So, in particular, I went to the south central portion of Nebraska. This is called the Rainwater Basin. And this area has, what is it? It's 63 unique waterfowl production areas. And so some of these are small, but just imagine being in one little region and you've got 63 different hunting areas that are all open. You can just go to them and just hunt. I mean, that's it. Have your licenses and you just go and hunt. And so if it's a wet year, these things are loaded down with waterfowl. And if you hit the migration right and you go there in a wet year, it can be just outstanding. And it's completely open hunting. They're all a bunch of shallow, like playa style wetlands. So it's all like emergent wetlands. You've got to find your own place to hide. But really, that's the biggest issue is finding a way to get hidden from the ducks. If you can do that, you're probably going to have a good hunt. Now, if you go there and it's dry, well, guess what? There's no ducks, but they're loaded down with pheasants. So all of these areas are also excellent pheasant habitat. And every one I went to the last time I was there, the ones that were dry were just loaded down with pheasants. And I only seen the whole time we were there driving around for like 3 days. I'm pretty sure we only saw like two groups of pheasant hunters. Like we saw, I'm going to guess 30 times more actual pheasants than pheasant hunters. So pretty amazing, a lot of opportunity. And if you were to go out there for a time when waterfowl and pheasant is going on, you can do a pretty cool combo trip hunting both of those things. It's completely walk-in hunting at all these areas. And their small game hunting license is 109 annual. They do have a 5 day that's 76. So a little bit cheaper if you know you're only going to be there for 5 days, go for that. You do have to get the habitat stamp, which is 25 bucks. They do have hip registration, which is also free. But then if you are going to pursue waterfowl and not just pheasants, you will need that waterfowl stamp from Nebraska, which is 10 bucks. And then, of course, the federal stamp, which hopefully you already have because that's good everywhere. So, all in Nebraska, if you were hunting pheasants and upland birds, $144. That's not including the federal duck stamp because I assume you already have that. But basically, $170 if you have to include that for a combo pheasant and duck hunt. Pretty sweet, and there's a
That is pretty
decent amount
sweet.
of campgrounds out there as well. So you could do
And
this trip
that's just
really
cool
on the
country
cheap.
too. Just
Oh
cool
yeah,
habitat out there.
you'll see mule deer. You might see
Yep.
antelope in some of the areas, or old pronghorns running around at 60 miles per hour. So really cool. And just the amount going to 63 different public land
Yeah,
places
yeah.
that might have pheasants and knowing that you could do that day in and day out. I mean, what more could you want?
Wow.
That's awesome.
Talk about access.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I'll get into Pennsylvania if that works.
Yeah, I'll
So
be
yeah,
hunting it this year, so I'll be able to give an update here in a couple months, hopefully.
I might be coming too now that I
Hey,
realize
I
how
like
cheap
it.
it is.
Yeah.
I just texted my dad this morning. I'm like, yo, I gotta get back. It's been a while. I'm sorry. He's coming out here, I think, this fall. Unfortunately, it's gonna cost him over 400 bucks to hunt out here. But if I went back there, it'd only be what is this here for just a base license out a non-resident for Pennsylvania is $101.70. Curtis was making fun. Almost all these prices have odd change. But so $101.70 in Pennsylvania, that gets you one antlered deer, and then depending on what part of the state you're in is going to determine what an antlered deer is. It's usually a 3 point rule. On the east side, it's going to be two on the main beam plus the brow tine, but on the west side, Pittsburgh area, that's going to be three on the main beam, not including the brow tine. So make sure you know what unit you're going to go hunt and what the regulations are for that. But you can get one antlered deer. You can get a fall turkey. You can get a spring turkey, and then you can get small game. And small game is squirrels, rabbits, grouse, pheasant, all that
It's
for
really
100.
good grouse hunting in Pennsylvania
Yeah,
too.
grouse is what I'd be going for. Pheasant, I don't know. I don't remember that very much when I was a kid, but there's definitely grouse up in the mountains. So, and then additionally, something we haven't mentioned yet is bear hunting in Pennsylvania. And for a bear tag for non-resident is $36.97 for a grand total of $138.67. You could, on a fall day or weekend, I should say, get a bear, a buck, a grouse, a rabbit, a squirrel, a turkey, all around the same time period. So if you plan your trip right, and then you can go back in the spring and get a spring turkey too. So all that for 138.67 was pretty awesome. And again, Pennsylvania, 16% of it is public land. It has over several million acres of public land and state forest and things like that. And a lot of the state campgrounds and state parks, I think 120 out of 124 allow hunting. So that usually means that there's a campground nearby. And a lot of the places out there, I'm telling you right now, that when I was a kid, they used to have the big banners on them saying "Welcome Hunters." So I'm sure all these little mountain towns, you might be kind of odd going into them because there's not a lot of people there. But I'm telling you, they want your business. So,
And
This,
uh,
Pennsylvania
they
is
rely
gorgeous.
on your
yeah,
business.
Like
Yeah.
yep. So,
Pennsylvania is beautiful. And I will say for Illinois, like there's hills. There's hills.
Hmm.
Like so just be prepared. You're gonna be going up and you're gonna be going down. Like it's not flat.
yep. And you can, if you want to, if you're going for meat, feel free to try to get a doe tag. I think doe tags for non-residents, it's over the count. Pardon me. It's first come, first serve. So a second round for both resident and non-resident begin the fourth Monday of July. So that's going to be coming up here. And I do know they usually, by the time season comes, they're out of doe tags, even though they have like 500,000 of them. They get
And they
bought
even
up.
increased them
Yeah.
substantially this year too, so they will probably still go. Yep.
Yep, but they still get bought up. So, so over the counter, and I believe you can buy them online now. So, go to Pennsylvania Game Commission. You can purchase them online, fourth Monday in July. So, give you up your chances of harvesting something if you're going out there this fall.
And check your seasons too, because East Coast deer seasons for firearm are quite a bit different than I would say
Hmm.
Illinois.
Yeah, and that deer that buck tag that comes with your license is archery and firearm. So you could go there. I haven't checked it, but the Monday after Thanksgiving is when it starts. Buck season usually goes for 2 weeks after the Monday after Thanksgiving, and then doe season usually goes to January 15th. That is from 12 years ago. So double check that. But
It's quite a bit longer.
yeah,
Yeah, you got a
you got
lot
a month and
more.
a half.
Yeah.
And you get to use different firearms, different rifles. Yeah, a
Yep.
lot of. And again, one thing we should kind of talk about is yes, you can hunt deer in Illinois. I promise you, deer hunting in Pennsylvania is going to be an entirely different style of hunting. You know, a lot of times in the Midwest, we're going to sit along edge. We're going to find some ag fields. We're going to find the food. We're talking Pennsylvania that has just contiguous forest, and those deer can go everywhere. And so it is a challenge, even if you're just wanting to just go after deer and try something different and big, these big expansive woods with giant trees with, trout streams running in and out of yeah, gorgeous state. Definitely check it out. And I will be doing a bear trip this year, this fall out there. So we'll definitely bring everybody along and tell some stories, maybe record some videos while we're out there. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Hopefully get some grouse too. I was out there last year doing some trout fishing, and I bet we heard a dozen grouse just in one morning as we were just fishing. Yeah, just awesome.
Yep.
But you can't beat $150 for a black bear hunt as a non-resident. That's hard to find.
Yeah.
We've talked about that quite a bit in our
Yeah,
in our little group here about that
I'm
price.
very excited to try that this year. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yep. And go near if the state parks allow bear hunting near them. I mean, my sister just went camping at Hickory Run State Park on the east end of the state, and they had a bear run right by their tent in the middle of the day. So, if it's a safe haven for them throughout the summer, they might still be around in the proximity of that area come fall. So,
Yep.
and I think the population's just gone up in Pennsylvania, I'm pretty sure, from when I was a
It has.
kid.
I saw the reports last year. They broke the record 2 years ago for the most bears harvested, and then I think last year they got the biggest. It was like a 780-pound black bear, which that's a big bear.
Yeah.
If you kill
Yeah.
that in the bottom of a valley that you have to get it up to the top, that's going to be a long day.
Yeah, we had one that was probably 500 pounds running in front of the car, maybe 3 years ago, and they are so black. Like you think it's like, oh, it's a black bear, but when you see them in the middle of the day, it is just such a black mass
Yeah, it
running
just
across the
absorbs
road, and
so
then
much light.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's insane to see. It's like
it
a
is.
big black boulder running through the woods.
And you can do drives there. You can do bear drives and deer
Yeah.
drives in Pennsylvania. So again, even though it may have different species, you get to use different firearms that are not legal here. You get to use different techniques that are not legal here. So
And while you're over there,
branching out to other states is definitely a worthwhile process on your hunting journey, just to find out what you like, find out what you don't like.
and
Hmm.
if you're on the East Coast anyway, and you're interested in hounds, Virginia's not far. And that is like what I think of as like the hound state. So I'm sure other parts of the South will disagree with me, but
Yeah.
fox hunting is
Yeah.
a thing there still. So, and there's a whole basset hound pack that runs. You can go see. There's a lot of options too for
Awesome.
Virginia.
Cool. All right. I think that is the end of our summaries that we have so far.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
so.
I
Yep.
had one more thing.
Sure.
If anybody's in Arkansas, which is not super close, but not super far, the World Champion Squirrel Cook Off will be September 13th. It's in Springdale, so not far from where the university is. The dishes have to be 80% squirrel meat. It's like a big thing. So if anybody's looking for something, maybe not as like hunting specific, not a trip, but you're looking for
Mhm.
something kind of fun to do, it's an option. Not that far
Nice.
from Branson. So
What were the dates? You said mid-September?
September 13th. Their
Cool.
Facebook page is the best place to go for information I've found.
Oh, okay.
My
Perfect.
husband's from that area, so we are trying to make it, yes, we're trying to make it down there. But
That's cool. Will it be the Illinois Learn to Hunt Squirrel Pot Pie, or what? Are you going to include our
I
name in the
wasn't I wasn't gonna participate. I was just gonna go and
Oh,
do like
I
a
thought you were going to
live
do
from
an
the
entry,
field kind
man.
of
Come
thing.
on.
Although, yeah, I don't know. September's so busy for us.
I know that's
It is.
impossible,
It
but
is.
yeah, cool. Awesome. Yeah. Well, all that. So I think everything was everything under 200 bucks?
Kentucky can be a little expensive
Yeah.
for like again for a non-resident deer hunt, but again, there really is not many states that you get the opportunity to harvest a velvet buck, especially in the Midwest. So if that's something that you're super interested in, check out Kentucky. But
Yes, in
that's probably
Maryland you
by
need to
far the
hire the
most
outfitter,
expensive one.
but
Yeah. The
still,
outfitter stuff. Yeah, that's true. But you kind of have to at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
unless
understandable.
you're hauling a boat across the country.
You better be immune to mosquito bites if you're going after a velvet buck, man. I already
Yep.
don't want to hunt in early October because of them mosquitoes. I can't imagine going out earlier than that.
My first year in Kentucky, I was pretty stupid, and I went out opening day, which was back then it was September 5th, and harvested a doe with my bow that night. And thank goodness she only ran 30 to 35 yards before she expired because again I was young, dumb. I needed to fill the freezer. I was a broke college kid, but man, was it hot! It was in the 90s. We had minutes to get her cooled off before I would never do that again. But yep,
My dad.
mosquitoes were certainly bad.
My dad just took my nephew hunting back home for the first time, and he went to a spot that we went to when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, we ran out of there because it was full of mosquitoes. And for some reason, Dad thought it was going to be different, and it was not. He went back in there, and he said he's never seen so many mosquitoes in his life. Took a kid turkey hunting in a swamp, which it can work sometimes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he said he heard them, but man, they were only in there for about 20 minutes, and they had to run out again. I'm like, why'd you go? What? Go somewhere else. Why would you go there again, Dad?
Could you
It's
even
not.
hear the gobbles over all the
Yeah,
mosquito buzz?
yeah.
My
But
mom's in the same boat
Man,
though. Last year she came out in August. She's like, "Oh, I wasn't thinking it was going to be hot in August." And I'm like, "What?"
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, "What? This isn't 1980. Like it's been we what? Like global warming. Like come on now. It's been
That's
hot in
funny.
August forever." Like,
yeah, August is the hottest month.
yeah, I know. I was like, "What are you talking about, woman?" Like it's not like Maryland's cool in August either. Maryland is awful in August.
Is it? Yeah, yeah.
August and February are the two worst months to be in Maryland, in my opinion.
Yeah, same with Philadelphia area for
Yeah,
sure.
it's like gray and awful in February, and it's, humid and mosquito-y and hot in August.
Hmm.
Like it's
Going back to Real Foot Lake, Dan, and seeing the mouth calling of people just yelling at the sky and then people chucking PVC pipes out. And do you
Did
think
you
it's
Google it?
just, do you think, no, I'm just asking you,
Oh, okay, okay.
does it make you feel like the decoys are more for the hunter, or do you think that, or do you think it's just such a good lake, it doesn't matter what you do, the birds are going to be there and they can get away with it? And it's just part of the culture, so it's kind of fun. Or do you think that people just overthink it all and they could chuck PVC pipe out and get a
I
bird?
think it's a little of all of them. I
Yeah.
think we as hunters, and I'm guilty of this too. You've probably heard me do it on the podcast. I know Jason, you've done it. Kurt, we've all done it. We almost a lot of times assign like these mystical powers to these creatures,
Yes.
and we just sit here and rack. How did he smell me? How did he bust me? Or it might have just been, he didn't. Just something else spooked. And so I think there's a lot of it that we as hunters over romanticize how smart some of these. Again, they are intelligent at times, but some of my best snow goose hunt, we used white grocery bags tied on corn stalks. It just created a perfect little shaped silhouette. We killed geese. So I think there's a lot of that. I also think it's a cultural thing. This is historically a fairly, I don't want to say super poverty stricken area, but it's a a blue collar area, very working style crew, and so I think just finding cost effective ways to do things have always been kind of
Use what you
mine
got.
in that area. Exactly,
Hmm.
and I think the next big thing is there's a lot of really good refuges that kind of surround Reelfoot Lake. And so there's just a lot of waterfowl naturally coming to this area. And if you're unfamiliar with Reelfoot Lake, just Google it sometime. Look at some pictures of it. Even if you don't want to go hunt it, there's insanely good crappie fishing. It's one of the best crappie lakes in the country. It's normally top 10 ranked year over year for big crappie as well as a lot of crappie. But it's almost like this bald cypress swamp. And so it's a really cool lake that you just, especially in central Illinois and up, you don't really see it. Right now, in southern Illinois, you do get some of these bald cypress swamps, but it's just such a cool area where you're just drive around the channel of the lake and then you pull into a cove and there's just these giant cypress trees with cypress knees sticking out of the ground everywhere. And so it really does just have great habitat because it's a fairly shallow lake. And so it doesn't get, 150 feet deep. It's a fairly shallow lake. And so you're getting a lot of dabblers as well as some divers in there because
Wow.
it does have some deeper areas. But again, a lot of it's just where it's at in proximity to the flyway, as well as a lot of really productive national wildlife refuges. I think I've told the story on the podcast before, but my first duck was actually not at Reelfoot, but I was hunting a piece of private land in Tennessee that I could literally see Reelfoot Lake. And behind us was one of the refuges. And we had golden eagles perched in the trees to our east, probably 200 or 300 yards away. And my first duck that I shot was a wood duck. Came in, perfect cup, dropped. It didn't drop right away. It did that kind of glide thing where it just glides 100 yards and then collapses. And here comes a golden eagle swooping in, picks it up and takes it off. And so it's just such a high quality wetland area that you just have natural ducks, geese, the big predators, the eagles, everything. It naturally just draws them in.
Wow.
So I think it's a combination of all three of those.
Hmm.
Finding a way to get it done with less resources, the historic culture of it, and then just such a good wetland.
Cool.
Yeah, it's neat. It's neat.
Awesome. All right. Well, there's a whole bunch of ideas that we just went through there.
And there's a ton more that we didn't
Yeah.
talk about. Indiana has this really unique urban archery program that starts before their season. So if you want to try to go after, some of these big bucks that just live in the city of Indianapolis, there's all kinds of opportunities out there.
And
Yeah.
literally, if you just Google like whatever state you're going to, hunting regs, and just make sure you're going to like a .gov site. Most states have the booklet just like we do, like the digital
Hmm.
version. Just make sure it's like the actual state site, not like a summary of it. And you can usually figure it out. And worst case, you can always, call them, email. They're usually more than happy
Mm-hmm.
to help too, just like ours. So,
Hmm.
it's not so scary. It's just be aware that Illinois is quite different in a lot of ways. So
Yeah,
you might
yeah.
actually find it easier in some ways for certain things. Certain things are less complicated. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
If you,
again, we're not trying to push anybody. We love hunting Illinois, obviously, but there are a lot of opportunities. We in this country are very lucky to have the types of animals we have, the wildlife, the different habitat types that allow us these opportunities. So I definitely think it's worth thinking about, worth taking advantage of some of these, low budget. And I love the idea that Jason and Lauren brought up a few minutes ago, and then we'll kind of close it out. Of hey, if you're going on vacation already or you're already going to this area, just see if there's something you can do, especially small game. We've hit at this so many times, but small game non-resident hunting opportunities are really affordable. You can get the 1, 3, 5 day, just like a lot of times you can get a non-resident fishing license for the same days, and you can try something completely new. Maybe you're chasing ruffed grouse. We just don't have ruffed grouse like that in Illinois, and even woodcocks. We do get some woodcock, but every time I see woodcock, it tends to be outside of the hunting season. So
hmm
there's
yeah, it's
just a
something I
lot of
want to do, and we've
opportunity.
talked about it, and it's just like be ready because
Yep,
you might not.
yep,
Like it's
yep,
not.
yep.
Yeah.
So keep
And you're
hunting
going to be
Illinois,
supporting
but definitely look
conservation.
elsewhere.
Yeah, and you're going to be supporting the wildlife management programs in those states too with what you buy.
Yep,
So it's.
Yeah.
yep,
Very cool.
love it.
Yeah. All righty. All right. Well, that does it for today. We'll see y'all next time.
See you.
See you.
Bye. Bye.